sharing with you guys a great vegan cheesecake recipe. And actually I probably say this way too often in my vegan videos, but I was so surprised that you can make this recipe that is originally based on something full of dairy products. You can make it without any animal products and it tastes just as good, if not better. I honestly didn't think I'd be eating things like cheesecake again when I first went vegan, so this recipe was really exciting for me, and I hope it is for you guys as well. So it's kind of based on a classic cheesecake recipe, or what I consider a classic cheesecake, with kind of the vanilla-y center, nice and creamy, with a kind of jelly on top, like a berry jelly. So let's get started with this. So for the base, what we're going to use is some oats, almond meal, dates, coconut oil and salt. So I'm putting 3/4 of a cup of oats into a blender, and then I'm adding into that 1 cup of almond meal. You could use whole almonds or walnuts or any other thing really. And then I'm adding 1/3 of a cup of dates, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and about a pinch of salt. And then I'm just blending that up until it forms a nice sticky kind of crumble texture. And then I'm getting my cake tin and I'm just lining it with a piece of baking paper, putting a little bit of coconut oil in there as well just to grease it. And then I'm pouring my base mixture in there and patting it down nice and firmly and evenly across the bottom. And then I'm putting this in the oven on 180 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes to bake. I personally like to bake the base because I really like it being crispy, but you can always just leave it raw and set it in the fridge like this and it will maintain its shape nicely. So then to make the filling, I'm using coconut cream, raw cashews, maple syrup, lemon juice and some vanilla beans. So firstly I'm taking my cup of raw cashews and I just want to soak them for a couple of hours, and this just allows them to take on a much creamier texture once I blend them up. And then I'm putting them into the blender after a few hours, and I'm adding into that 1 can of coconut cream, and then I'm taking half a vanilla pod and I'm just squeezing the beans out of it, about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, and then I'm blending that all up until it's nice and creamy. And once my base is out of the oven and it's been cooling down, then I want to pour my filling onto it. And you can tap it down a bit just to make sure any air bubbles come to the surface. And then I'm putting it in the freezer for 15 minutes just to firm up a bit. So then for the jelly, I'm using some agave powder, some berries and a little bit of sugar. So to start with, I take my 2 cups of berries, and they're frozen, but obviously if you have fresh ones that would be great. And I'm just waiting for them to defrost. And then I add a couple of teaspoons of sugar in there just to help sweeten them up a bit. They can be quite tart. And I mush them around. Then I'm putting 2 teaspoons of this agave powder into a small container with a couple of teaspoons of water just to mix it in there and help it dissolve. And then I'm pouring that into my berries and thoroughly mixing it through. And the agar-agar is just a vegetarian version of gelatine. So I'm putting the berries into a pot and slowly bringing them to heat and allowing them to simmer for a few minutes until they thicken up a little bit. And then I want them to cool down a lot. Once I take my cheesecake out of the freezer, I can pour these berries on top and then put it back into the freezer and allow it to set. So I'm putting it in the freezer for a couple of hours and then back in the fridge for another few hours. Otherwise you could just have it in the fridge for 4 or 5 hours to set fully. The freezer helps to speed it up a little bit. And then just take it out of the fridge and cut yourself a slice. And if you haven't had vegan cheesecake before, you'll be really surprised by how creamy it is. It's so delicious. And you can just leave the rest of the cheesecake in the fridge for 3 or 4 days. It will keep nicely. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. I really like it. And aside from it being vegan and being super delicious, it's actually really affordable to make as well. I remember cheesecakes used to be around the $20 mark or something like that to make back in the day when I used animal products. So this is actually cheaper, even if you're not vegan or not looking at it for health reasons. It's a cheaper alternative and just as delicious. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.